Richard. Welcome to the Commerce Talks podcast. Episode number 5 actually today already at the Shop Talks Europe conference. But with the 5th episode, we are getting the most famous guest here. You're presenting Levi Strauss, if I pronounce it
That's right.
Correct. And you're representing a very interesting topic, the direct-to-consumer part. Can you give us a bit of introduction about Levi and yourself, please?
Sure. Well, Levi's is no introduction, right? So it's been around for 169 years. So I like to refer to it as a 169-year-old startup. We are primarily denim known, but we are a head-to-toe apparel business across all categories and genders. We operate both globally with DTC, we operate with bricks and clicks, we operate with pure play. So we have a really good coverage globally of our organization. For me, I've been here 16 years, many different jobs along the way, and I am currently the global head of direct to consumer for Levi Strauss Co.
What are the main products from Levi? I know it must sound like a trick question to you, but
Sure.
Maybe some listeners don't know yet.
Main products from Levi's, everybody would know the 501, and just by reference, it's 150 years old next month, I want to say. So based on that, we have a huge iconic product as a platform and a DNA to the rest of our denim brand and offer. We're well known from denim, both men's and women's, but you'd also know us for the trucker jacket. I'm wearing one today. And then also additional iconic white t-shirt. If you think back to some of the kind of memories you may have of the brand with the blue jeans, white tees, and the boots, it's kind of synonymous with how we are recognized by most people in this world.
I have to admit, I don't own one jeans. Yeah, so I only own chinos. I've heard this comment before.
You need to indulge.
It's coming before. So obviously the brand grew with the wholesale business over the last 150 years. Direct to consumer became more important over the last years. Where was this change driven from? So what was the impulse to do more direct to consumer?
So before DTC became a popular terminology, Levi's has already been in retail for many years, and we've operated in lots of different formats. So either owned and operated, either in a franchise setup, a shop-in-shop concession, and also we operate across both mainline and also factory outlets. So different parts of operating modeling in the global network of distribution. We currently sit today on just under 3,000 doors. That mix is around 1,000 doors are owned and operated. The rest are sat with partnerships and concessions and shopping shops. And as a business, we've evolved that to become a real beacon of how the brand turns up in front of the consumer and how we bring to life the full range and offer to the consumer to delight and surprise our fans as we go.
So direct to consumer started as a brick and mortar direct to consumer, not as an online direct to consumer.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
And is this direct to consumer approach, brick and mortar, now changing more into an online approach?
So our online is a big part of what we do. So we have core website environments across all the global markets. We integrate that fully in terms of our commercial strategic objective. So currently today, e-commerce represents around 8% of our business globally. And as
of your direct-to-consumer business or total retail business?
Of our total business.
Okay.
So as a result, we are now driving heavily towards, on the back of the increased traction, if you think through the last 2 years, our e-commerce business was accelerating like everybody else's, but we see it as an integral part of how we operate DTC in total. So we're integrating the consumer journey both on and offline and making sure we connect the dots for that end-to-end consumer journey. And we're using both vehicles to integrate a consumer. So there really isn't a difference between the two.
We had our guest here today from a retailer brand called Z-Man, which is trying to build a very much omni-channel focused customer journey. They are today 99% offline in their stores, and when they want to let's say ramp up their e-commerce capabilities, focus for them is to bring the e-commerce customers in the store, like for pick up their orders. What would you say to the Z-Man manager for this strategy?
I think you've got to figure out what works for you, and what works in one market might not work in another market. So we have varying levels of execution that we offer. So between associate order entry system, which is when you're in a store and it becomes endless aisle. So if you can't find the trousers in your size, then we could save the sale and find them online for you. or even the shirt you're wearing, we could get a different color for you that isn't available in store, but is online. So we can extend that endless aisle to you within the store environment. Conversely, online, if you're shopping online, you wouldn't know as a consumer, but if the stock wasn't available and yet we've been able to route that through to a fulfillment in a store, you would still be satisfied with that order fulfillment. Hence, we save the sale within that interconnected inventory. That for us is how we're really making sure the consumer journey is fulfilled at whichever point they connect with us. So whether it be online, offline, through an associate order entry tool, or even through a mobile app solution that we've now issued as part of our e-commerce strategy.
You said your e-commerce share is 8% globally. I think when I'm following the conferences correctly on the European e-commerce markets and listening to Zalando and About You, they say 20% of the overall fashion market is already online in Europe. Is it also the case then for Levi in Europe, or is denim products a special case which is rather shopped in the brick and mortar environment?
So we have a really diversified approach to marketplace on e-commerce. So we have our own Levi.com, which is the 8%. Then we work with the pure play, so working with core players around the globe, and also the bricks and clicks. So as part of that digital universe, we have not just DTC, but also we have our third-party approach to the market, which works incredibly well when you start to reach across the demographic and also consumer profiling, which we're targeting. We're a very democratic brand.
And from a customer perspective, what is the reason why should I buy on Levi.com or on the German version of it and not on Zalando? Where I might have the Zalando Plus service, like free returns, free delivery.
Sure, you're going to get an expanded offer within the Levi.com environment. You're going to be hopefully a member of that journey and get additional benefits in terms of early launches and priority around launch items, maybe even early access into collaborations that we do. You're going to see the full breadth of offer between tops and bottoms, men's and women's, kids, and really have that immersive experience where we'll work with other partners to dedicate against category development. And again, it's one of those things where we're working symbiotically in the industry versus working independently.
How many products are we offering on Levi.com?
I don't have that to share. I can't think what that will be.
Yeah, but is it hundreds, thousands, 10,000?
No, it's hundreds. It's hundreds. Yeah.
Hundreds. Let's say if it's 500 products, how many of those products would I find in a pure play retail environment like Zalando?
You will probably find a similar number, but maybe a different offer. So segmented differently for the consumer profile, because of course online everything is becoming more personalized to the consumers who actually frequent those locations. So as a result, they will potentially trade and offer something different for their consumer base. And again, that's something we work with across our entire collection.
Yeah. Okay, got it. And how do you view on the challenges of bringing these different channels together? So that was also a part of the conversations with earlier guests today. So it's usually a huge investment from a wholesale company or just like running a couple of your own stores into getting into an omni-channel experience. Just the simple use cases you've described, ordering something from a store which is not available there, shipping it to the customer or into the store, making then returns available in the same store. That makes sense from a consumer journey perspective, but it's super hard to build if your ERP systems or cash systems are not equipped for that. How do you manage that?
So in terms of managing the end-to-end and the return cycle behind the e-commerce transactions, it is a technically challenged area. We have built that in-house. So we have an in-house built solution. We also work with some third parties to actually enhance some of those returns elements. Again, depending on the markets in which we operate, that then coordinates against the backdrop of our logistics partners or our third party that manage our consumer interaction. And we work on that as a strategic intent. So we're building very closely what the consumer pain points are and using that as our baseline and then navigating our way through to actually ensure that whether it's through a drop station or whether it's through one of our locations or return via mail, it's as frictionless as possible. And that's all part of making sure we're putting the consumer first and what the pain points are we're trying to solve for.
So you've decided then for a strategy where you're not selling your products exclusively over your own channels. So it's it's distributed like in many online channels, offline channels. I can find it like in many in many store. This usually leads to a very complex challenge when it comes to platforms like Zalando or Amazon, because you might offer your products to Amazon or to Zalando, but might be other retailers that want to get rid of their 501 stock for whatever reason, which leads to like a price spiral downwards. That's what we are always seeing with over-distributed products. Do you have a solution for that, or don't you see this price spiral?
We're not in a position where we would be able to articulate anything about that with the partners that we work with. We work in a closed network, so we work with accredited resellers of Levi's. So the network of people who sell Levi's are all through an accredited platform in Europe that we work with. So we don't have that level of friction in terms of our approach to it in the market space. And even working with the big partners that we have, their decision on what they will apply a selling price to or anything like that is really their decision on how they trade the brand in that environment.
How stable is your assortment? So how much change in your assortment you see on a yearly basis? Is there like a new collection like every half year, like with other retailers? And then you have like a couple of products that are staying there forever, since 150 years, obviously.
Yeah, so we have a really good core iconic product set. And then on top of that, we have seasonal injections, which are relevant for clearly the seasonal point in time. So we'll be working on those seasons out and making sure we've got regular drops and regular flow to engage the consumer and also facilitate that frequency that most retailers are looking for, right? So the consumers can keep coming back in and finding something new and interesting about the brand.
Yeah. As global head of D2C, I think one of your targets must be to increase the share of direct-to-consumer revenue. So if I was sitting on your place, I would say, okay, I can increase the share by just having exclusive assortment that are only available on my D2C channels. So no Zalando, no Walmart will get those collections. Then obviously the Walmart buyer will come and say, hey, Richard, that's unfair. We have been partners now for 50 years. Why don't we get the Levi collection or the Richard collection? How do you handle this channel conflict?
So from a commercial standpoint within the wholesale relationships, there are things which I can't really give you the detail on because I'm not in that world to comment. However, what we do work with is a very unique set of propositions for each partner we work with. So we talk about segmentation and assortment strategy within each of our distribution channels. And of course, within Levi's, you would expect to find the product there first. So there could be early release. There could be specific product for online exclusive. We do have some of those today. So it's not something new. It's not something that somebody would necessarily come for. But equally, we do allow or do enable our partners and customers to also have exclusives for them. So special makeup product that we do offer some of them so they can, again, really focus on who their consumers are and how they can generate that additional demand.
I guess you have also experience with the influencer marketing side. So rappers are wearing your Levi jeans in a video or whatever. And then so like 10 years ago, that would have been like a brand investment. So the more people are seeing it, the more people will buy Levi. Today, all those social media channels try to become transactional. So they allow you to put a link in there because they want to earn part of the money, obviously. Do you use this already to drive traffic into your own online online user experiences?
I don't know. That's a good question. I would have to ask. I would have to phone a friend on that one.
Okay.
So it's something I can't.
We need a telephone joker.
Yeah. I'm looking around the corner at Sophie, but no, I can't answer that one. I think we do have a level of engagement. We have a facility in many key locations that we have called the House of Strauss, and it's a product placement location. So we invite people in, and invariably we're placing product with them versus paid partnerships. The brand is hot. People want to wear it. You'll end up with people coming in wanting it for a concert they're performing in, or wanting it for an advertorial, and we'll make sure we work with influencers as well as other VIPs in the industries. But it's not something I can answer you around whether we're using that from a media perspective.
what is driving the growth further in the future? Is it rather new products, let's say a denim shoe or a denim mat, or I don't know, whatever we can do out of this fabric, or is it more new markets where Levi haven't been so active before? I don't know, India, or I don't know. I haven't looked into your go-to-market strategies, but what is driving the growth?
Yeah, so I mean, we are already global. So we're already well penetrated in most of the global markets. We do have expansion that we can make within our e-commerce channel. So we know that we could do a higher proportion of revenue in that area, and that's something which we're going to be investing in the next 5 years. We're going to continue to invest in opening more stores. So we're planning to open another 400 stores over the next 5 years as well. So we believe in brick and mortar. In terms of product, denim is always our core strength. And the 501's been around for 150 years. It's going to be around and keep going, and it keeps giving us that essence of growth and opportunity. And as we look at diversifying into our youth categories, into our women's business, and also boosting our top sales, they're all areas of opportunity that we're excited about, and I think that we can facilitate, which will then lead into the direct-to-consumer growth as part of the business strategy.
When like 8% of your business is already direct-to-consumer on your own online channels, if I now correctly stated this number, then there must be already a huge team or a sizable team behind it for the online experience, because direct-to-consumer is obviously very different from the wholesale business. So it's not just shipping some pallets of products to the retailers, but really handling payments, handling the returns, handling the warehouse management. Can you share some insights about this organization? So how many people are working there? How many people are doing collabos with the rappers? So more jeans in Instagram.
So yeah, I mean, we've got a good spread of organisation to cover both the e-com and that media part of what we do. Our e-commerce is actually, we have teams in different scale markets. So they are spread between North America, EU, EAP. We have teams dotted around the markets to support and, if you like, impact their ability to grow that e-commerce channel. So total numbers don't have for you, but we do invest in each market to make sure that not just from a global perspective, it's very much localized and focused around what the local market's needs are. So that would then mean ensuring that we have site merchandising that's relevant for EU and also site merchandising that's relevant for the US.
No, I'm not asking this to nail down like on a specific number, just to try to understand. So how much can you get on par with these specialized pure players like Zalando, like an ASOS, which are investing heavily into the online experience? I've did the calculation a couple of years back which led to a number of you can achieve 2 to 4 million euro revenue per member of the IT department, developers, product owners, because they're essentially tech-led businesses. Sure. It doesn't matter what they're sure. selling, and they're obviously they need this kind of tech capabilities to offer like the newest, I don't know, payment integrations, the newest tailored voucher strategy, where I as a customer maybe I'm buying like 10 trousers a year, and therefore I get like a voucher on Christmas only for me, for my size, for sure. my type of trouser, which is valid until like 10 days, which is like super sophisticated from a technology perspective. So yep. Can you keep up with those kinds of development in the e-commerce market?
So yeah, we have a really well structured team that works globally in terms of product management and looking at what those consumer pain points are, and then building out with the engineering team in terms of delivering against the personalization and those things that you're talking to. And from our perspective, yes, we have a team that's robust, and it's in line with where we are today. And as we continue to explore new avenues or new areas of investment, then we'll continue to review how we then build the strength out in that team. But again, we're really fortunate. We are located out of San Francisco, heart of Silicon Valley, and we have a huge amount of talent out there as well. My team did an amazing job building up what they do today, and I think we are continuing that journey, and we continue to review how we're going to get there.
What was the impact of Corona for your business? Because you're still mainly distributed in brick and mortar retail channels, and many of them had like a huge Corona impact. I can only talk for like European numbers. I don't know sure. how it was in the US. Was direct-to-consumer e-commerce able to cover it up, all of the losses from the other channel, or was it like not the case?
I think as you think about the initial opening to the conversation, we're an incredibly diversified brand. So between the Brits, Clicks, Pures, then you think about our DTC, both owned and operated franchise network, and also our .com. We have an incredibly diversified portfolio globally. So when a market goes into a lockdown program, we've probably got another market still trading. And so through that whole cycle, we were incredibly well-versed at closing and opening and creating a safe environment for our teams more than anything, and making sure that we looked after our colleagues globally. And that then led us down the path of understanding that our diverse mix and portfolio was sustainable against such an impact. We suffered the same as other people in terms of loss of traction of footfall through tourism and through other closure periods. But we've equally made sure that we've been ready to go when the consumer's ready to come back to us, and we've emerged stronger as a result of that.
Are you still investing in new stores, brick-and-mortar stores? Yeah,
we are. So even through our pandemic, we invested in new locations when we could, based on lockdowns and restrictions in access, refitting, so refits, relocations, new stores. And as I said before, over the next 5 years, we're going to continue to open another 400 locations.
And what is the average size of a Levi location?
Depends on the part of the world. So we are probably between 1,500 and 2,000 square feet in EU, and we're anything between 2,500 and 3,500 in the US.
And the locations are A+, or is it rather in the shopping mall environment?
So we're mixed. So we're assessing the markets in which we've got opportunity. We geo map where we already have distribution with our current wholesale distribution, digital distribution, and then how we would then place a location so it serves the community in which we're addressing.
Okay, and then you're getting the last questions like all the other guests. So what is your biggest bottleneck when it comes to D2C growth? Is it the availability of talent? Also, you have a Silicon Valley headquarter. Is it the availability of aggressive marketing spendings, or is it anything else?
I would argue that for our brand, we want to move quickly. So time is always the limiting factor. So, we're not rash in our behavior. We're very considered. However, we do want to move quickly when we can. So, test and scale, but do it fast. Test and learn, and make sure we then progress to the next step of evolution. So for me, it would be around time constraint more than anything.
What is the last thing you've done in this kind of test and learn strategy?
Ooh, that's a good question. We're currently in the middle of testing at the moment, so we know that size is always a problematic journey for people when you're online. Physically, you can go and you can try things on, you can ask for another size to come out of the stock room, and you can do that in store. Finding the solution for online it's a bit of a mystery for everybody. So we're trying different things at the moment. So you can key in your body dimensions, and you'll get a predicted size and also recommendation of product now online. And also you can now look at garments on actual people who look like you. So you can actually start to select models that would reflect your, if you like, your build or your stature or your height or whatever it may be. So we're now creating opportunities to learn more about what the consumer journey is and how those things will work in a really good experience to get more accurate sizing.
But to be honest, so if I recall correctly, over the last 10 years, there must have been like 1,000 startups trying to solve this issue, shopping the right size online with scanning solutions and QR codes, 3D solutions. And you're saying none of them worked so far?
I'm not saying none of them worked. We actually have tried some of those, and we still have some of those in play. And again, what we're doing as a business is we're learning. We're testing and learning. And the consumer is changing their perception all the time between physical and digital, transactional and experiential. And we want to make sure that we're servicing the consumer in the way that they want servicing. So we're very focused on their needs. Okay,
I will try out after this podcast the customer journey. Maybe there's a good size consultancy tool available that brings me then some denim products into my skin. Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.